Today, another breed of trucker must also rise to the occasion. And those who stand tallest at the biggest mountain to climb. But like their payload hauling brethren, they are no strangers to adversity. They are, after all, people who drive trucks. Welcome to Trucks and Tractor Power. After Lima, Ohio, Andy Brass is really cruising. He has a 650-point margin over his nearest competitor, Paul SHAFER in Monster Patrol. Now, the other SHAFER, Fred SHAFER, is a disappointing fourth. In fact, he got knocked out of round one in Lima, and now the Barefoot Dodge finds itself in a deeper hole because Fred gets knocked out of round one competition here this afternoon. And now with more in today's competition is my television colleague, Army Armstrong.
Gary, the big story in the monster truck wars at the beginning of the year was going to be Ford versus Dodge, and everybody knew that Fred SHAFER was going after the Bob Chandler operation. That would be Dodge, SHAFER, Chandler in the Ford camp. Well, really, it hadn't materialized that way. To be very, very honest, in layman's terms, it looks like the Bigfoot team has found something, and they're going forward. And Fred SHAFER and his crew, very honestly, it looks like they've lost something this year with the Mopar combination. Fred SHAFER right now is going to be playing catch-up if he's going to try to win the World Championships. And really, at the beginning of the year, everybody thought that that would be the guy to beat. Back to you, Gary Lee.
Army, now some round one highlights with Paul SHAFER and Fred SHAFER. Fred SHAFER in the far lane was the 8th fastest qualifier. Paul SHAFER, the near lane, was the 2nd fastest qualifier. It was close, but by 3/100ths of a second, Paul SHAFER took the victory. And after his win, we went trackside, and Army caught up with the victorious Paul SHAFER of Monster Patrol.
It was close when he took off first at the starting line, and I caught him at the end. And I know if I can get down on the ground in between the cars, I thought I'd catch him at the end.
And it was a rough weekend for Pam VATERS. This is her in qualifying. A few weeks back, she rolled the boogie van, but in Bloomsburg, she would get knocked out by the quick qualifier Andy Brass in round one. Watch this little bootleg spin in the boogie van. Oh, she came real close to getting upside down right there. She was the 7th fastest qualifier. After a poor showing in Lima, it appears as if Dan Patrick in the American Gladiator has really stepped it up a notch, taking on Snakebite in round one, and Patrick would notch the 2nd win for Chevrolet in the 1st round.
Well, we've had problems in qualifying. We only ran a 6:20 was the best we ran yesterday. But at 2 o'clock this morning, I had this thought, and I went out and redid my fuel system last night, and I had a check valve in backwards. So the motor wasn't burning the fuel, it was getting to it. So we did that, and it was like a brand new truck today.
Guy Wood, who we've seen compete in the Hulk monster truck, took over the driving duties for Fred SHAFER's Dodge Express, but it was all Kurt Dabney here. Both Dodges shut out in round one. More highlights now from round one. Back once again, the ever-popular crush cam view.
Well, Gary, this is Pennsylvania. Really, this is the groundhog view is what we call it here.
Well, that's a look at Gary Porter's win over Don Van Loo. That makes 3 wins for Chevrolet in round one. Now, the best time of round one and qualifying would be turned in by Dan RUNTE in the near lane with the Power Wheels Bigfoot. Always tough to beat. So some highlights from round one competition. And here is, that's toys imitating real life at Bloomsburg. Oh, he cleared them. We'll be back with more from Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Welcome back to the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, where Ford Trucks present the McCarthy Tire Summer 4-Wheel and Off-Road Jamboree Nationals. And we take a look now at the pairings as we get ready for round two competition, the 3rd race in the Penda Points Series. And once again, the fast loser will advance. And there's a good look at Dan Patrick in American Gladiator. He was very impressive in round one. He'll have his work cut out for him, though, as he goes up against the Bigfoot of Bob Chandler. And earlier in the program, we talked about the Chandler Ford camp going forward. They've gone to a different approach in the suspension department, and as we know, they are the trendsetters in this sport. And earlier, Army talked with Bigfoot crew chief Jim KRAMER.
Jim KRAMER with Bigfoot standing with me to try to explain why there's some changes in the suspension. This time last year, everybody thought the cantilever suspension was the way to go. Is that not the case now, Jim?
Well, the verdict is not fully in yet. The cantilever suspension has worked well for us, but we went to the cantilever because we felt we needed more axle drop. We need more droop over these set of cars, get the tires down further, and that entailed having a longer shock absorber. Well, it wasn't a longer shock absorber available, so we gave it the distance to drop through the cantilever arm ratio. Well, now Trailmasters, since our association with them, we kind of co-developed a shock that's 28 inches long. That enables us to have this kind of an axle drop over the first set of cars, which we feel is necessary, and not utilize the cantilever. The cantilever is great. I still think it's a good system, but if we can cut the weight of the apparatus off of the truck's going to go faster. We can take that weight and put it in a more advantageous spot on the truck.
What's the advertising slogan? The best never rest. Two of the best in the business right here.
Well, as a matter of fact, the one on the left, the heartbeat of America for these advertising slogans, used to be the crew chief for the one on the right. Bragging rights coming out, Ford, Chevy. Chevy takes the win.
Oh, a big win for Dan Patrick. A big win for Chevrolet as he knocks out the fast qualifier Andy Brass in Bigfoot.
You know, it's ironic that Patrick used to be a crew chief in the Bigfoot organization, so nothing else. He's got bragging rights, but the story here is the Chevrolet win over Ford, Gary.
Well, of course, Dan Patrick has built a number of these chassis in competition today. Let's go trackside. Army Armstrong, you're with that victorious team.
Gary, the guy that seems to be the happiest of all, we've seen him in all types of sports. You're a crew chief this weekend. You're doing an awfully good job.
Thanks a lot, Army. You know, Dan called me up last week. He's really having some bad luck, and he said, won't you come on up there and give us a whirl? We've been trashing all week trying to get this Samson in the field, you know, and we're making all kinds of power. We're just having a hard time getting it hooked. We set up last night, thought about it, and we got her going today.
Well, a while ago you said it was 2 o'clock in the morning. We're just congratulating. You know, it's kind of weird. This guy's like a bad penny. He keeps showing up, but he brings good luck with him. Hey, could this be your day?
I hope so. Gene, you know, I've been friends for years, and Gene's an excellent driver, great crew chief. You know, I think having him with me now is just kind of turned everything around. You know, we've got great sponsors behind us now with the Gladiators and the high-tech trailer people. You know, I've been waiting several years to get into this series.
Well, good. We're glad to have you here. I'm going to grab Andy Brass real quick. Andy? Boy, I tell you what, you guys look like two old war horses going at it out there. He was running you hard.
Yeah, he is. You know, like I say, Dan's been in the sport for a long time. He's built some good equipment. Dan's been doing a lot of the chassis. We run one of his chassis, and we knew when he come out with a truck this year, he was going to be a tough competitor just because, like I say, he builds good equipment. He spent some time in trying to get the fuel system worked out. Looked like he got it worked out on there, and the truck's turning in some good times. So we knew we was going to have to run tough to beat him, and we just didn't have it at the very end.
Another now Ford Chevrolet matchup at the starting line. Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher, over in the near lane, taking on Kirk Dabney in the far lane.
Kirk Dabney runs a motor to the rear setup. That's the vehicle in the far lane. Gary Porter staying with something tried and true. He keeps the motor in the front of the vehicle. He'll be representing the Chevrolet camp. Ford in the far lane. Chevrolet's already taken one big win. Let's see if they can make it two. Yeah.
There they take it. Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher, by what, a few inches. But he takes the victory at a 5:30 ET. And there's Kirk Dabney's 5:34. Remember, the fast loser will come back in the next round.
Could this be the day for Chevrolet? We're going to find out.
Here's your groundhog view,
Groundhog camera one more time. You peek your head out, that's what it looks like. But when it goes past you, that's what it looks like.
Back trackside, Army.
Gary, on the national circuit, they call Gary Porter Elvis. Well, you're rocking and rolling with them today, partner.
Yeah, it sure is. You know, I've been down for a little bit, but, you know, you can't count old dog out. You know, come out here, you know, a qualified, you know, pretty decent. You know, the truck's running good, and hopefully we can take home a win again.
Chevrolet looks to have found something they didn't have this time last year. A lot of Chevrolet trucks doing a whole lot better. What is it?
Well, I know about a complete new truck. We got a rear engine. We're running the Pontiac style heads, you know, high compression engine, the Fulton competition built for me out of Spartanburg, South Carolina. You know, the Neil Chance converters are hooking up really hard, and you know, I think we just got a good combination now.